Hello, it's April 2024, and over the years I've talked about social conditioning, social engineering, and I've highlighted, for example, real obvious things, say with social justice movements and things being taught in schools and so forth. Can even include, I suppose, belief systems and religions, but that's not what this is about. These are the obvious things that control people's actions, their thoughts, and ultimately controlling their beliefs. But there's a form of social conditioning, social engineering, that's very subtle. You could almost say it's in the background. It's there. You don't pay attention to it consciously, but your brain is picking it up, whether through a visual thing or something audio. And what this is something called subliminal messages. And this is everywhere. Now, a lot of people may be familiar with, for example, Disney movies, especially the older ones, which, seem innocent on its face, but that's a whole different tangent. But I just want to highlight something here where it came out really in the 90s. It started to come out, you start to hear about it, but in the 2000s, especially with the internet, everyone was talking about it, how there was sexual subliminal messages being presented for children. And there's even snapshots of a naked woman in a window as these cartoon characters are flying by, a real picture of a real woman in a cartoon. And it apparently only flashes on for a second, just long enough for the brain to pick it up, but not consciously. Now, when I use this example, there was a movie that came out in 1979 called Alien. Now, when I was younger, I was a sci-fi fan. I liked the Alien franchise. There was Aliens, and some other sequels to that. There's also Predator, as well as spin-offs of that, Predators and Prometheus and so forth. I want to focus on for a moment the 1979 movie. 1979. I'm highlighting that for a reason. A lot of people may or may not notice that when watching that movie, the background had a lot of sexual inferences with its design. And sometimes you might pick up on that, sometimes like throughout the movie you might not, but it was always there in the background, right in front of your face. But because people are focused on the characters or trying to figure out what this alien is, what it really looks like, because they only show glimpses of it, but it was all sexual based. And even the designers decades later had come out and said, yeah, they did that intentionally. Now, one of the things that really got my attention, there was a female character in the movie, not the main character, but there was another one. And when they were going over, you see this really in the sequel to Aliens. The bio of her, she was a female actress, but she played a male to female tranny in the movie. There's a whole write-up about mental stability and everything else, but it was there in the background, apparently in both movies, but no one's really paying attention to what's happening on the screen behind there, watching the movie, listening to the main characters and so forth. In 1979, it was this trend was being introduced in the background with all these sexual images in the form of alien spacecraft and even the alien itself, with that second mouth coming out. This has been going on who knows how long, but at least what we know of history, say in more modern times, for many, many decades. And these things are there, just socially conditioning people. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of people will defend something that they believe, not knowing what they believe was imposed on them. They will argue without any facts or understanding why. They just, I have to defend this. Through direct, we'll call it social conditioning, and indirect social conditioning with the subliminal messages. This is how and why we are here where we are today in society and civilization. And then you can compound other elements of, as a descriptive dumbing down of people in society and so forth. But these hidden messages right in front of you is important. This can happen not only in movies, television, news, music. It's all around. Advertising. A lot of people, especially when it comes to the online communities now, they're accepting commercials. Oh, well, you know, it's been socially conditioned, socially engineered to accept it on TV. I remember in the 2000s thinking, yeah, the internet has no commercials, this is great. Then slowly started to get introduced on different online platforms, to the point now where even if you want to research an article on any topic, you go to a site and all these pop-ups and commercials and little videos popping up, and you're having to close this and close that, and it's just gotten ridiculous. But anyway, I'm digressing. But people will defend something that they really don't know what they're defending, and they don't want to know the truth. And this goes back into topics that are the obvious, with, say, for example, social justice and the whole facts don't care about your feelings and everything else. But for a lot of people, it's their feelings. And you see people on any topic wanting to suppress information. Now, I want to be very clear. When I present something, whether it be in an overlay or even in a discussion about civilization, I maintain a neutral position. I'm not imposing either way a position. I just present facts, or some might call it truths, and that's all I do. Now, with that said, not too long ago, I had made a comment to someone's content, and this person was adamant that they want to, their mission, they clearly stated in a reply, one of the replies to me, was they want to stop propaganda. And I'm like, propaganda? I haven't said anything either way. I'm not supporting any position. I'm just stated some facts. Now, putting aside bots being programmed to do this, I mean, who knows now online what is real, what isn't? Let's assume that this was a real person. This person wasn't interested in anything. They just want to be heard with nothing to say. And with people like that, just leave them with the last word, because they're not worth it. What's interesting, and I've mentioned this before a couple of times over the past decade or so, when you give someone the last word, more times than not, they're not intelligent enough to understand what that means, and for them, they're taking the opportunity to have the last word so they can say it, but whatever. But people like that, again, assuming that this was a real person, it appeared to be, have no idea why they're defending or thinking that they're doing something. Now, I've mentioned over the years how in today's world, this civilization that we're in now, one of the things that has been omitted is the rite of passage, which is very important. It's been important throughout human history in every single culture, but the Western culture has omitted that. Now people are trying to find, a purpose, meaning, value, their place. Another thing that has added to the chaos with all this is everyone's equal, that myth. So to understand people who don't want to accept the truth, the facts, whatever you want to call it, it's more than just obvious things. There's a subliminal side to them that has been manipulated to the point where they're lost. And I've said, even over the past several years, there's no waking up anyone from any position. And a lot of people, they'll post and talk about things thinking, I gotta wake people up, I gotta spread the truth. And they end up preaching to the people who are, as a descriptive, already in their camp. So they're not reaching the people who they, in their heads, think that they're reaching, because those people are not interested, they're not part of that group, and they don't care. What can you take away from this? Pay attention to whatever it is that you're watching or listening to for these subtle messages in the background that you may not otherwise have noticed. Now, I'm not saying get all paranoid and invest days or weeks going through, for example, a movie and trying to dissect it and trying to find zooming in and trying to find all these little details. I mean, you just go crazy. But there are people who have invested a lot of time looking into stuff like that. Just like there's been people with a lot of time who did the actual calculation of the world population and found that, hey, it's only a fraction of the official number, but I digress. But just pay attention to what you're seeing as well as what you're hearing for those subtle things. And then you're one step closer to realizing what's going on in the world. And as always, just want to give you some things to think about. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me all the time, when is it going to get easier? When you die.